Here's a simple way to see it. This is not my handwriting, because my handwriting is not this good. This is a whiteboard expression or categorization of the different books of the Bible, all of them. Okay? And so someone else, I just pulled this offline, but I thought it was great, really easy to see. You can see some different pieces here. We'll come back to this as we go throughout and use this kind of as a visual, all right? So you got the two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Those are the parts we talked about from before Jesus and after Jesus. In the Old Testament, you got part that came from Moses, the law. You got a bunch of history books. You got some poetry or wisdom books. We often call those the wisdom books. And you got a whole bunch of prophets who came. And then in the New Testament, you've got the Gospels. Those are the stories about Jesus' life. And the book of Acts, which is connected to the Gospels, but kind of like them in some important ways we'll look at. And then you've got a whole bunch of letters, including the book of Revelation. Everybody's always says the book of Revelation in hushed tones, the Revelation, because it's kind of a scary book and different from the rest of the books of the Bible. But it is also, in some ways, a letter to churches. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole Bible. It doesn't seem that overwhelming when you look at it that way, does it? That's all that it is. To understand it and how it fits together, we also need one other image, one other construct in our minds, and that is the history of the world, according to the Bible. Now, history is always, historians are always making choices. Okay, what part of history do we focus on? And the Bible has its own history. What I mean is, the Bible tells the story of the world in a particular way. And the Bible is saying, this is how you should think of the history of the world. This is what's most important about the history of the world. Okay? And that history includes the creation of the world, then people turning away from God, and then God working with this one particular family that becomes a nation, the nation of Israel, which of course is central to the whole story of the Bible. And then that nation finally rebelling against God so many times that God has to bring in the next stage, which is Jesus himself, the Messiah. And then the church, the Bible, and the Word of God going to the whole world. And finally, in the end, the Bible, of course, does history a little bit differently than most historians, because, as we just saw Jesus say, the Bible tells us history that hasn't happened yet.